You are listening to Win on KZKO. Check them out every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Only on KZKO The Vibe.
Covering all conversation, from dating to getting revenge on your exes. This is Talking Points with Shabazz Davis on World Improv Network.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Talking Points with Shabazz Davis. I am Jerome Carmichael, filling in for Shabazz today as he is busy milking his kangaroos. Good luck with that, Shabazz. Now, we're going to get global today on Talking Points, and we have two very powerful and important guests on the show. Currently involved, one of them at least, in a struggle in Ukraine. But we're going to start first with our first guest, the Prime Minister of Germany, Fraulein Angela Merkel.
Oh, yes. Hello, it's great to meet you, Mr. Carmichael.
Prime Minister, welcome to Talking Points.
Thank you.
Now, I think the first thing I want to get into, even before we bring President Putin out, is some people are very highly critical of you for getting involved so deeply in this situation. Why do you care so much about Ukraine?
I see this as nothing but a revenge play from the Second World War, and I think the Russians are trying to counter-conquest the efforts of what the German people achieved and attempted 70-something years ago. And it is just not right. We're in a new day and age where such behavior is not acceptable. It is also not fair for me to just sit here as a woman and to be steamrolled by some bully man such as Mr. Putin.
Now, Prime Minister Merkel, I just want to dig into your statement real quick here. It seems as though you're implying modern-day Germany has some sort of connection, dominion, what have you, with the Ukraine, with Ukraine. Could you explain that relationship, please?
Yes, it is our right to defend the Ukraine as best as possible. They are peoples that do not want to be invaded by the Russians. Matter of fact, they were very friendly to the Germans years ago, and therefore we have this bond that is inherently strong with the Ukrainians, and we will do anything to protect the Ukrainians from such a brutal bear such as Mr. Putin and his empire.
Oh, okay. I somewhat question your view of history, but we won't get bogged down in that. Now, I would like to bring out one of our favorite guests here on Talking Points, a man who is making his record-setting 9th appearance on the show, President Vladimir Putin.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome to the show, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Now, you are not enthused by Ms. Merkel's involvement at all, or Prime Minister Merkel's involvement in Ukraine.
Right. The Prime Minister Merkel is no business interfering with these operations because it's none of her business.
And now, Prime Minister Merkel, President Putin has invoked the none-your-business policy, which, as we all know, forms a strong basis of the Geneva Accords, where, you know what, you're not involved, stay out, and yet you keep sticking your nose in.
Well, it started first, actually, when we were in Geneva. We were sitting down for a conference to see what sort of sanctions we should have against Mr. Putin for his efforts against the Ukraine. And he sat down in a private room with me. We decided to have the conversation before we made our intentions public on resisting his efforts. And he put his hand on my knee. And that's where it started. He started right there.
Prime Minister Merkel, I can't help but notice the gaze that you're giving President Putin and the way you're fluttering your eyelashes is really quite suggestive. And I
And
feel like there's
desperate.
more going on.
It is just me trying to remove the shine in my eyes that is coming off his bald forehead. The way the studio lights are hitting his forehead. That is why I always say I don't call him son because he is mine. I call him son because his forehead shines.
Oh. Yes. Now, President Putin, do you remember this moment where you put your hand on Prime Minister Merkel's knee?
Yet.
You don't.
No. I have bedded many a woman, but I can say that Prime Minister Merkel is not my type.
Oh.
I think maybe I patted her knee to comfort her because she is a woman, and women need comfort and affirmation from men. And I think she misinterpreted this as a come on.
Now, that is a very interesting question. Prime Minister Merkel, do you find it difficult to do your job without the comfort of men?
I don't think that should be something of question here. That's a very sexist question, Mr. Carmichael, as well as his response. Again, it is just another case of the human history of men trying to overpower the woman. And not to give credit, where credit is due, that women are much more powerful and capable than men have ever been able to admit.
And yet your efforts in Ukraine have thus far proven futile.
Exactly.
That is, again, true, because he is not respecting the rights of the woman, and in this case, the most powerful woman in Germany and possibly all of Europe, which is myself. And he is, again, it is deeper than the German or the Ukrainian or the Russian issue. It is an issue of sexism and domination.
Well, that brings up a very interesting question for me. President Putin, do you respect Prime Minister Merkel?
Yeah, of course. I respect her as a fellow political leader, someone who's in a position of power and responsibility, and also as someone who clearly has a hard time making choices and moving forward and actually, doing good things for her country. That's hard.
Oh. Very, very harsh judgments from President Putin, but I feel like we're building bridges here, and we have a large bowl of M&Ms in the green room. I think maybe you two could sit down and have a little talk, maybe work some things out. And that's been our show tonight here on Talking Points. Thank you for tuning in, America. Good night and good point.
Give the Windcast your suggestions via Facebook, Twitter, or the KZKO Wind blog during the commercial break of what issues the Wind Counselors can help you with during Good, Bad, Ugly. Next on KZKO.
You are listening to Win on KZKO. Check them out every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Only on KZKO The Vibe.